Welcome back to Daruma Dojo Dialogues. I'm here with Sensei Joshua Carter. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
All right,
Yeah,
super cool.
Be fun.
So Joshua Carter is the kids head instructor here for the our judo program, and also one of the kids coaches and adults coaches. Brown belt, four degrees, and judo black belt. So I'm super happy to have a nice conversation here. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. We're going to talk about judo background and respect in judo and in Jiu Jitsu, MMA, stuff like that. So yeah, should be interesting.
Is judo like your first martial arts?
Yeah. My dad did a little bit of judo when he was younger. So when I was a kid, they put me into judo. There was a place that was really close to our home and near Monterey area. And so that was like my first martial art. The place was called Bojuko-ru, and the Bojuka part was boxing, judo, karate.
Oh, okay.
The sensei was an instructor of all martial arts for the military, in like the 50s and 60s and stuff. So he retired and he started teaching judo and everything. Yeah, I think Bojuka is still around. They have a tournament every year down in Monterey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I've heard of that. So Bojuka.
Yeah.
Boxing, judo, karate, and Ryu, which is like dragon, I think.
What is Ryu? Is like the style?
Okay, maybe, yeah. There's so many different ways of...
Yeah, I think it's like, this is the style of teaching. Gotcha. Or maybe it means dragon, I don't know.
I think maybe it means both.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Keiko-san.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in the Monterey area?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started?
I think it was probably about 5 or 6, so really, really early.
That's young.
And yeah, I did a little bit of the karate, but over the years, just really focused more on judo. My sister, who is 5 years younger than me, she started doing judo with me when she was about 6 or 7. So I did it right up until my early teens. And unfortunately, I remember that our sensei was a little old school.
I bet. He's in the military.
He was pretty old school. He had these little plastic bats, and he would walk around and like smack you in the back of the leg if your form wasn't proper, you know? And my sister really didn't like it.
Sure.
And my dad, he kind of had to like bribe me sometimes to get me to go to practice.
Yeah.
So if I would go and do well and stuff, he would like take me to get like a candy afterwards or like some baseball cards or something like that. But my sister and I kind of like latched onto this bat thing and started complaining, and so we stopped going.
Gotcha.
It was also a time where I was getting into baseball a lot.
Oh, nice.
So I did a lot of baseball during my high school years. So I kind of transitioned out of judo, got back into baseball.
Gotcha. So the bats, when they hit you, did it hurt?
No, it was like a sting.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't leave a mark or anything.
Yeah, it was more just like a
bruise.
reminder.
Yeah. It was a hollow plastic bat, so it couldn't really hurt you.
Yeah, it was more of just like you're hitting kids with an object.
Yeah. And it definitely wouldn't fly today, right?
No.
But to his mind, I guess it was perfectly reasonable way of teaching.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my professor would tell stories about Ralph Gracie, and he would say he'd go around and he'd tell you if you don't do it right, I'm gonna punch you in the head. And I don't know if he actually did it or not. Or I know some people, they walk around with a shinai. You know.
What is a shinai?
A shinai is the wooden sword that they use in kendo.
Yes.
And then if you don't do the technique correct, pop, you know what I mean? So I think that's a very common old school practice, to walk around with something and and hit people with it, hard or not hard, but regardless, it's almost like you're training animals, training a dog, I think.
Right.
It has that kind of feel to it, so almost belittling or.
Yeah, and we noticed that, and we latched onto it as kind of an excuse to stop doing judo.
Gotcha.
Which I always will remember that. I wish I had never done that. I wish I had, and maybe what I'm saying is I wish that he trained differently, or the environment was more welcoming or more nurturing, as you know. But I always was very upset that I stopped and just went completely into baseball, because when I finally came back to judo in college, I had missed so much. And like, it's not that I like forgot all the techniques, it's that, you know, I outgrew my learning curve, because I think something really interesting about judo in regards to kids learning is you don't have all the muscles to rely on or you don't have muscles yet, right? So you have to rely on doing the technique properly to see results. And then if you are growing into your muscles when you're still doing techniques, like in your teens and stuff, that's really good. Coming back like later on, like in your 20s, you're all strong.
Yeah.
You're not going to do the techniques properly. You're going to be forcing everything. It'd be stiff and rigid.
Yeah.
And when I did come back in college, I was training with the highest, you know, echelon of players in our area, you know, at San Jose State at the varsity. And I could just see this massive difference that I was never going to catch up to.
Like those guys have been doing it since they were like you, like in their
and never took a break.
When you stopped, you would say you went from like 5 to like 15 or something, or 5 to 10, or 5 to...
When I stopped
12,
judo?
Yeah.
About 12.
12. So then, what rank were you? What rank did they give you then at that point? Or did you...
I was a green belt.
Green belt?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I was a green belt as a kid, and I had done a lot of tournaments. And then when I came back in college, I didn't think to ask anybody about what rank I was.
Sure.
I just came back as a white belt.
Right.
And
I mean, it was already what, like 5 or 6 years at that point that you haven't really trained?
Yeah, almost like 8. And so I came back as a white belt, and then I did 1 or 2 tournaments, and at one of the tournaments, I won like 3 or 4 matches all by a pwn. And it was a really weird tournament. It was at the CCSF, where they each round you would go with somebody, you could get 2 opponents. Okay. So like you won by a pwn, stand up, you go again. I don't know why. I've never done a tournament like that before, but apparently
so in order to win, you have to get 2 ippons.
I think it was 2 out of 3. Yeah.
That's cool. You get more matches.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And so I just got a lot of ippons in that tournament, and apparently they were like keeping track, and they looked at my record and they saw I was a green belt. So
I see.
They told Dave Williams like later that week, hey, promote this guy to brown belt.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be in a white belt division anymore. So then all of a sudden I was a brown belt.
That's one of Dave Williams' not necessarily claim to fame, but he's like, because he likes to promote people, and I know it's evolving the way he coaches, but when I was a student later after you, he's like, I want the people at the tournament to yell at me and say, promote this guy. So, you know, like he should be a black belt already, or he should be a brown belt already. Like he'd take it out of my hands. Like that was always his thing. Like he wanted you to perform so well that the people in the committee or the referees or the head referee, they're like, why is he competing at green belt, or why is he competing at white belt? You know, or why is he competing at brown belt? He's demolished. So like you were a perfect example of that. Like they actually looked up your history, and how are they? I wonder how they found your history as a green belt. It's all in USA Judo.
It's probably all in the IJF or the USA Judo stuff. Yeah. So that was interesting.
So Dave Williams was your coach. He was one of the coaches at varsity, like assistant coach at the time, or
no? It was like my first semester back. I did a study abroad. My first semester back, I came back, and it was like just a tumultuous time in my life. And I just kind of randomly, I was like, man, I got to do something with all this energy. So I just signed up for the class, the judo class, and that was with Dave Williams.
What year was that?
2004.
2004.
Yeah.
So you've been teaching that class for that long?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wonder how long before that.
Before that, I think he was a coach to varsity at some point for some duration. So, yeah, it's been a while.
That's what he told me, but I didn't know. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so.
Yeah, so it was just the class. And then I think I did that class for maybe 1 semester or 2, but then it was going to be summertime. And I had just got promoted to brown belt because of that tournament. And I asked Dave if he would ask Chuck if I could come train with the varsity. And there was only 2 brown belts in the room at that time. It was actually me and Nicholas Chen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were the only 2 brown belts.
Oh, wow, cool.
And it was like there's 20 other black belts.
Yeah.
And these guys are like Olympic level.
Yeah.
And this was
Scary.
actually that summer was the summer that Travis Stevens was training at San Jose State, and he threw me around a lot. He was so scary. He would throw me. He would get a throw going like a kataguruma or something, and then he would just kind of elevate as much as possible.
just to get the extra oomph on the throw?
Just to put more of a crater into the mat, because like that was the kind of guy he was. He just kind of wanted to hurt everybody.
Yeah.
And so the level was really high, and I got broken immediately. I had so many injuries, like
really?
Just everything, shoulders, hyperextended arms, constantly, fingers bent back, and everything. It was a painful time, but I managed to stick that out, and I trained with the varsity for about like a year and a half, 2 years. And then I stopped again for school and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Judo hurts.
Judo hurts.
Oh my gosh. Like you mentioned, it's not as forgiving as Jiu Jitsu. When you're going to hit the ground, there's no slowing down unless your partner like super careful. And even then, there's only so much you can do. Yeah. When something's falling down towards the earth.
And the sad thing is, like, most of the time you hurt yourself in judo with your decisions.
Like back then it was really common to use your head to not get ippon, right?
Yeah.
Use your neck, bridge. Now it's automatic disqualification, but they only changed that recently.
I think they recently went back on the head stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was really strict for a few years, and now they've gone backwards.
Oh,
they
interesting.
Really changed. They fine-tune the rules a lot.
Every year there's new rules. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, especially teaching kids. You know. Like,
yeah.
I'm not even clear anymore on the exact distinction of what part of the leg you can grab now, because now there are some leg grabs that are allowed.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like if you have one grip, you can grab the leg. Or...
Yeah, I believe as long as you're completely gripped up, then now you can go to anything above the knee.
Gotcha.
But no ankles or nothing below the knee.
Yeah, I'm a national referee, and I do now I referee like maybe a tournament a year, one tournament every other year. I'm not as involved, but every time I go back, I'm relearning like some of the rules. Oh, okay, and it's like a quick cram session before I go out there.
Yeah.
And then I'll make a mistake, but they always have like 3 people watching at one time, so like they'll be in your ear like, oh, that was a leg grab, or that was a, oh, okay, and then I come back and talk to the head ref, the senior referee at the table, like what, and so like you said, like if you're not on top of it for sport judo, right? Like if you're not doing sport judo, then it doesn't really matter so much. I mean, safety matters, but as far as like competition, like it doesn't really matter, No. But yeah, so that's interesting. So there must be. So you played baseball. You really got, and I want to talk about that a little bit because I also played baseball from the time I was 5 years old all the way to like 18. I played college ball for a semester, for 1 year. And then from there I transitioned to jiu-jitsu. So I didn't start jiu-jitsu until I was 17. Wow. But you were kind of like judo, then baseball, and then back to judo, and then somewhere around there jiu-jitsu. But how was baseball? Yeah,
I think when I was like 5 or 6, I was doing judo, soccer, and baseball all the time. Yeah. And then so there was just a time when around 12, 13, judo fell off, and then got really heavy into baseball, no more soccer. And after a couple years, high school rolled around, I started doing like a traveling team in between the high school seasons. And then I played varsity when I was a sophomore, and I was like a shortstop, second baseman.
Oh, cool.
And then my junior year, I was playing too much, and we had a rather not structured kind of like weight program. And I was taking creatine, I was getting big and strong, but I was only lifting like bench presses, squats, curls. Yeah. And the front part of my body was getting so strong. And I started pitching, and I started getting this gnarly shoulder tendonitis. And man, between junior and senior year, the coach that I had for 3 years, he was a great guy, I'd like learned everything with him and like been on the team with him for so long. He got fired from his position at the school because of budget reasons. And he had to move back where he came from, I think LA or something. And
What high school is this?
Seaside High School.
Okay.
In Monterey area.
Seaside.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they brought in this new coach that didn't know anybody. And he wanted everybody to try out again. And this was like just at the worst of the tendonitis where I was like supposed to take like a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able to try out. And even though he knew that I was, playing that position last year, he didn't start me for like the first 2 games.
Yeah, he thought what he was doing was like fair, but it wasn't.
It wasn't because I'd put in so much time. But I just got like really angry and I sort of like quit baseball, which was like huge for me and my dad. That was like our big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely a bummer.
I have a very similar story to baseball, except it wasn't really necessarily injury, but it did have to do with a coach. And me and my dad were really that's how we bonded. Like he took me to my baseball travel games from the time I became like 11, 12. I was also like very serious, and like we would travel and spend so much energy, time, and then I was supposed to go to. I was set to go to UC San Diego, and I was really excited. But then instead, financial reasons, we went to the junior college. And I was bummed about that, and had some resentments. And then I went to the junior college at LMC in Pittsburgh, and I was starting catcher. But the coaching staff was horrible, and once you play college ball, it becomes real serious. It's like you're juggling that with school, and then they made it so terrible for me. I thought they were unfair. I thought the way they were doing things, and I had a chip on my shoulder. I was young. I was like 17, 18. Thought I knew everything. Dunning Kruger effect. Like I thought I knew everything about baseball. I thought I was the shit. Pardon my language, kids. And eventually I got kicked off the team, and then me and my dad had a huge battle about that. And but the coaching, that was kind of one of my reasons why I thought I didn't like baseball anymore. And at the same time, I was starting Jiu Jitsu, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna pursue this instead. But it's just interesting that we have a similar story there with baseball.
Yeah.
Around the same time, I was like 2 or 3 years after you, but.
Yeah, and the coach that I really liked, I respected him a lot. He was cool, but a lot of my teammates were not cool. It was a very bullying kind of vibe, and so that also kind of I think was slowly pushing me away from baseball. And interestingly, I think I've probably been on a rock climbing wall maybe as much as I've been on the mats in my life.
Oh, wow.
But that exiting baseball was kind of an exit from team sports altogether. Yeah. So I got into rock climbing really big in my 18, 20s, and then all through my life afterwards.
Around the same time you went back to judo?
Yeah, I was doing them both at the same time for a while, but I never stopped climbing. I did stop judo here and there around college, and when I was trying to focus and graduate, I just didn't really have time to do the varsity classes anymore. I did a little bit at Sensei Buddhist and a little bit here and there.
Gotcha.
Took a break and then came back to Chuck's a lot longer, like my 30s, early 30s.
When you joined the varsity, you got your black belt pretty quick at that point?
No.
You stayed at brown belt?
I stayed at brown belt the entire time I was at Sensei State.
Oh, wow.
And it still took me 2 or 3 years longer after I went with Chuck full time to get my black belt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a long journey.
It was very long. You've seen my judo brown belt is like a beige belt.
It looks like gray almost. Yeah.
I had that belt I trained in that belt for probably almost 9 years. Yeah.
Surprised it still fits.
Well, I was skinny back then in college, but got big for a while. For a while, that belt only had little tiny bit of tail.
Barely
because I was big, I gained some weight in the middle. Yeah, but it took me a while to get to black belt once I was with Chuck. I think because he saw that there was like some gaps, and like I regressed. You know, every time you take a break, you know, you come back, you're getting older.
Yeah.
But also I think also had the same kind of vibe as Dave in terms of if you're a competition player, and then that's going to be your goal for what you're going to do to get to black belt. But if you're older and you're not doing that, as long as you practice and your technique looks good, maybe you get your black belt that way. And so for me, I was still competing in like my late 20s and 30s. And so when I finally won a few matches at the black belt division, that's kind of when I got my black belt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I played team sports growing up, and then when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it was different, right? For me, I felt like, okay, like I mentioned, like I always had kind of a chip on my shoulder, and if we lose in baseball, there's always somebody to blame besides yourself. But then when you lose in jiu-jitsu or judo, you usually don't have anybody to blame but yourself. Maybe you can blame the referee or the rules or whatever, but you have less scapegoats. Did you realize that, or did you notice those kind of things, or what was your difference between like being on a team sport like baseball, or then being an individual sport like judo or rock climbing?
Definitely when it came to rock climbing, there was like a peacefulness to it that I'd never experienced in a sport before. Like you can get in a flow state when you're running or training, or when you're playing baseball, like you're right in the moment. That's like cool, but it's like you're hyped up, you know, you're focused there. Whereas like in rock climbing and sometimes jiu-jitsu, especially judo a little bit less, you get into that flow state and you kind of like you feel peaceful, you feel like more happiness. And I never felt that with team sports. In fact, like you said, there's drama, you're competing with other people on your team for like the spot. And that was like a big thing on my team, was everybody was very competitive for what positions they wanted to be and play. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Team sports are very valuable for, you know, learning how to interact with your group and that sort of stuff. But I think your environment really matters. It could be toxic sometimes, and when you're a kid, you don't know what's toxic, right? No. You just absorb all that negativity, and so I was glad to find climbing at that part of my life, because then it also did translate into me thinking, oh, I'll go back to judo and it'll be similar. It's my sport, you know. Like I don't have to rely on other people. I just have to train with them. And at some point, that maybe becomes a little selfish. It probably wasn't until I got to Chuck's, and then even a little change there as well, that I started looking at dojos as some sort of team. And then definitely just recently, you know, now that I have kids and I come and I train the kids, I feel much more now that it's a team or it's a community. But I think it really depends on what your goals are or why you're there. If you're a younger guy and you're there to compete, you're there to train, you might not view it as a team so much.
Yeah, I get it. You coming in and I'm trying to come in, get my training, because I have my goals, and I think it's kind of a mixture of both, right? I look at jiu-jitsu now like it's like a team sport. Like when we come in here, like we're growing together. You know, the better you get, the better I get, the better they get. Like it just kind of filters out. But I do understand, like, you know, when I was brown belt, blue belt, and my coach, you know, I had these relationships with great training partners and good friends that became very competitive. And like that's one of the regrets I had, and once again, I was young, like, you know, early 20s or teenager, like 19, 20, 22. And we're just like going at it. And it becomes very personal. Like it's me versus you. We're training hard, and my coach is in my ear. Hey man, kick his ass. And my coach is in the other guy's ear. Hey man, you can just do this, right? So like, it became like me versus them. You know, and I feel like I think that built us as like tough tough competitors or tough guys, or like, you know, it built some sort of grit. But at the same time, I think as a community, it became, over time, there was, I could see how people got burnt out, or people got, relationships were stressed, yes. And it's like, so I could see how there's like a mixture of that individuality and team sport within the dojo in Judo and Jiu Jitsu, opposed to like baseball, where with the great skills that you're learning, like you mentioned, as like, hey, if you want to do anything great in life, you have to do it with a team. You know, even if you have the greatest idea, you have to get a team and learn how to work together or manage as a team to build something big. And you mentioned the rock climbing as like flow state, which is really cool. Like I've done like endurance sports, running, cycling, and I can relate to that. Like when you're just kind of out there in nature, maybe, and you're just like, it's a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. Yeah, I miss it. I don't get that anymore. I rarely get outside to climb very much anymore, but even still, I think there's something about being younger and like being in that flow state. Your worries disappear and things like that. Yeah, but Dunning Kruger.
Yeah. We can talk about the Dunning Kruger. Since I guess I kind of was touching on it a little bit as myself, like, but what is the Dunning Kruger effect?
Well, I
just learned about that.
Yeah, like what you were saying about, you know, when you're young on your baseball team, you thought you knew everything. And I think one of the beautiful things about jiu-jitsu and judo is that we learn it very scientifically. And so we train, and then we apply the technique, and we see what works. We experiment. We hypothesize that, oh, if I'm in this situation next time, I could do this. And we think about it in the back of our minds when we're going to sleep. You try it the next time. Oh, it didn't work. You know? Oh, I got to change something else, or I need to investigate why it didn't work. And you're just constantly making these adjustments scientifically. But that only comes after you've been on the mat for a while. And the cool thing about jiu-jitsu, and it highlights how ignorant most of us are when we first start. And so there's this theory, not a theory, but like just an idea of the Dunning-Kruger effect, is that we always overestimate our skills when we are starting out. We get to this point on a curve where we think that we know everything very early in our development. So like blue belts. Right? Blue belts. You know, you think like, but then you take this deep dive in your confidence and your ability right around the beginning of your mastery, like your brown belt or your black belt, like even like right when you become a black belt. Then it hits you like, I don't know anything. Like there are so many levels here, and where am I in that? And so it's this humbling thing, and it's this inversion of expectations that, you know, you would expect the black belts to be more, and some people are, but to be a little bit more arrogant or to be more sure of themselves. But in fact, they are usually more humble in their abilities because they actually have a good concept of how vast the possibilities are, how much more skill there can be to get. Whereas when you're a white belt and a blue belt, how many people have you rolled with? Like how many things have you felt or seen? Not so much. But still you have this feeling like, I know all about that. And so it's...
Teach me beating bolo. I know armbar already. Show me something different. So the inversion, if it was on a graph, it'd be like, all right, here's your confidence level, and then here's your skill level, right? And maybe not confidence, but like your perception of your skill level in space.
Perceived ability. Yeah, it goes up real high, real quick, but then your actual mastery is, or a timeline is on the bottom, that x-axis, right? So it goes up, and then it falls sharply, and then It's only until you've really been doing it for a long time that your perceived ability matches your actual skills, right? And then you would say, even if you're not a great player, you know you aren't a great player, but you've been doing it long enough to be aware of where you actually are in the hierarchy of possibilities of. So it's once you see it on the mat, you see it in real life as well. Like for me, with engineering, probably about 10 years ago, I've been doing it for 15 years, probably about 10 years ago, I thought, hey, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not good at this. And, after I've been exposed to many other people and engineers and all these different things that are just so far out there, you just think, wow, man, there's just so many levels.
And I wonder if you have established mastery in one craft, and at that point, like, hey, I'm just one of many. I have my little thing going on here, like for jiu-jitsu, for myself. I have one little thing going on here, but I can respect all these other people that are doing the same thing, and they're different. I'm not better. They're different, especially at the black belt level. It's so cool to see like all these different black belts and skill levels. It's like, hey, we're all like riding this wave of jiu-jitsu. You're over there, I'm over here, but we're on the same wave. It's a totally different spot, and mine's not better. Yours is not better, right? And so. That's how I look at it. And when you're around people at that level, it's so cool just to be like riding the wave together.
It's true.
And like maybe if somebody has experience, like it took me to a black belt to realize that, like later in my black belt to realize, like I have this feeling now. And I have this piece of my jiu-jitsu. I don't have to prove my jiu-jitsu to anybody because, when I was like in the color belt system, I was definitely, I'm the S. I know everything, I'll beat you up, I'm a purple belt, blue belts, get out of my way, whatever. But if you have reached this experience in engineering or in jiu-jitsu or in judo, would you hypothesize that if you go into a new skill, like playing guitar, I never played guitar before, I can play a song, do I now think that I'm a Jimi Hendrix, or do you think that carries over?
I think it carries over.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good reason why this type of sport is so valuable at a young age is because you get exposed to that learning gradient, and I do think it carries over. You learn, there's always somebody better, and that I think that carries over into life and other sports you might do, or your occupation, or even your relationships. Like you just respect people more and realize, I don't know everything. I hope that happens.
Yeah,
with my kids.
Then you can keep that white belt mindset, right? Because if I go into something, I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, I try to stay curious, so that I can learn every day, because I have all these students here, white belts, blue belts, and then I can learn from their experience as well, as long as you stay curious and keep that, as they say, white belt mindset or beginner's mind, that Master Suzuki would say, a Buddhist teacher. He taught here locally, but I think he has a book called Beginner's Mind.
Beginner's Mind.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you see it all the time, like you get like a 4-stripe white belt, like, but I would do this. If you do that, I would push right here. That's, that wouldn't work. Or
that wouldn't work.
Yeah. I would just, if you do that, but the way I do it, the blue belt teaching, professor showed this, but the way I would do it. So it's just, I used to take it personal and get upset when I see that. And now I just kind of laugh and let them on their own little journey going on over there. Yep. You have your little blue belt class going on the side of the mat. Yep. So. I see it. I see you, blue belt.
And it's okay. I mean,
it is what it is. I was there. I was that person, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you were saying about baseball. I thought I was like the best baseball player for a while. Yeah. Then I saw that I wasn't. Getting close to college, I was like, whoa, man, there's a lot of serious players out here.
Yeah, when I look back and I look at the skill level of the MLB and the college, and like I played for such a large part of my life, like 15 years of my life I played baseball, and I was good, but I wasn't that good. There was so many nuances. I was maybe I can't put it in a belt term, maybe I was a purple belt,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, it was, there's so much more to it that I did not have the skills for yet. Maybe if I had kept going and learned how to have a beginner's mind, I'd get there, but.
It's also interesting what sport or thing you're doing that enlightens you to the Dunning Kruger effect, because like in rock climbing, you can see and feel the differences. Like you're climbing like a V3 or a V4, like that's a difficulty rating for a boulder. And you go up and you touch the hold and you like hang on it and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can do this, whatever. And then you look like a V8 or V9 and you're like, it seems like to defy physics. And then you're seeing other people that can do that and you're just like, that is so far away from what I've ever done or what I feel like I ever could do. And you get humbled immediately just by feel. And here, if you're a white belt and you're rolling with a black belt, and you're a white belt, you're just starting out, you don't know much, it's very hard I think to feel that the black belt is playing with me, right? He's being gentle, he's allowing, he might be tapping me or not, but it's hard to perceive what's being given and what's being allowed in a game sense versus if this guy wanted to destroy me, I'd be done. Right, and so I think it takes a while to get there, especially if somebody's ego is in the way. I did this myself when I was like a blue, purple belt. I'd like go with a coach or a higher belt, and I'd hit a sweep, and I'd just like get a little dopamine, you know, like, oh, maybe I'm good, and then you realize, okay, this person's playing, you know? It's not. They're not trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. Hey, I hit that sweep on coach. You know, you go tell your friends.
Yeah.
Bro, I tapped out coach, or I passed his guard. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's definitely true. Like there's different levels to it. We're playing. That's what my professor always said. Like, hey, you play Jiu Jitsu. Like when you see like cub bear fight, they're playing with each other, but they're really learning how to fight and kill. But they learn through play, and that's one of my philosophies is like learning through play, because I feel that's when our creativity and our mind opens up. And if you're fighting, then you're closed because you don't want to give certain things. But if that coach that maybe let you pass his guard or let you sweep, he was playing. He was like, hey, maybe if I get swept here, I can hit a footlock on the way down. Or maybe if I'm trying this new passive guard I never tried. Oh shoot, lost my balance there. Okay, cool, that's why. Or hey, Joshua seems like he's having a tough day. I'm gonna give him a little dopamine hit. Maybe he gave you a little cookie. You know what I mean? You never know.
Or you want to play on bottom. You want to work on your defense.
Yeah, he's like, how do I get there without just pulling the guard? I can let him sweep me. Yeah, there's so many ways to get there.
I've been wanting to train some late stage armbar escapes, but every time I get to the armbar, I'm kind of worried my partner is so excited they're about to armbar me that they're gonna rip it. You know? So I'm like,
you have to trust your partner that escape.
So I don't ever let it get all the way out there.
Yeah.
But I want to put myself in those difficult positions sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Man, so we're talking about jiu-jitsu. So when did you start jiu-jitsu? Because this must have been after you were already a judo black belt.
Yeah.
You were already doing rock climbing, which sounds like you did quite a bit during your 20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
And then how did you get into jiu-jitsu?
So after I got my black belt, I was still in judo. I was kind of like a little bit too competitive at that location, and I needed to find somewhere else where there was more black belts that were my size, that were at my speed, like competition-wise, and it just didn't really line up with my work-life balance at the time. So, and I'd competed a lot in the last 5 years before that black belt. Separated shoulder, separated rib, always hyperextended arm. It felt like my arm always hurt on the inside.
Posting on the ground or getting armbarred?
I think I think like sometimes it's like you're just standing up, you know, you're getting hyperextended just from grip fighting, or maybe it was posting on the ground, but just a lot of injuries. And so I just got into jiu-jitsu thinking, you know, this will be less injuries. I can transition my judo background into it, and you know, that was probably like 2016. And so I was pretty consistent for about 3 or 4 years, and then COVID. Took some time off, tore my ACL, and yeah, then came back.
So when you first started jiu-jitsu, how did you feel? One, how did you feel judo helped you in jiu-jitsu, and how did you feel was a big difference between the two?
The big help is obviously the grip fighting is huge, and doesn't translate to no gi very well. So that's why I prefer the gi, is because I've always felt a little more lost in no gi without grips. And I also prefer the grips because they make me feel safe. They make me feel like I'm much more aware of what my partner is thinking or doing, and therefore I'm protecting myself more. I can anticipate the move that they're about to do or where their body's going, because I'm so connected. The
sensibility.
Yeah, in no-gi I feel less connected, and there's more surprise. And for me, I've had all these injuries, torn ACLs. They add up and they really affect your life. So I'm much more injury averse now than I was before. So grips, the judo base is like, it's a thing, right? It's real. Like, and that is something I noticed right away when starting jiu-jitsu, is how difficult it was for people to sweep me, even though I couldn't really pass a guard very well at that time, or I couldn't sweep other people very well. I just noticed that I was very solid. It was really hard for me to just fall over, whereas I noticed other people just kind of fall over sometimes at beginning levels. And so, yeah, the just inherent balance that you get from judo. And you know, I've surfed a little and I skateboarded a little and slackline, and all of those things came so quickly from having judo as a kid. That sense of balance and like the proprioception, like where's the ground. So I think those are the two biggest ones. I think another big one was I still remember in college judo feeling during training like nerves or like some sort of ego with certain people that I would go with,
right?
Or like an
I don't want to train with that guy.
Yeah, or an anticipation. But I think throughout getting to judo black belt, that went away. I don't feel nervous to roll with anybody anymore. You know, even if they're big or black belt or whatever.
I still get nervous to roll with you, Joshua. And I tell myself, shut up, Alberto, just go with him.
I definitely sometimes don't want to roll with you because I'm so tired or beat up. But not scared or nervous type of thing. But, and I don't think you're going to hurt me. Whereas you might not feel the same way about me. Maybe
no. I just feel like, it's more of an exhausting thing, I think, when we go sometimes, but not all the times. I think lately it's been
a little more flowy.
Definitely. Last night was cool. But sometimes you're definitely, you know, at many times the toughest roll on the mat. So, you know, there's always that tough guy in the room. You're like, damn, I'm gonna have to go with this guy. Like, you know, and you avoid eye contact.
Avoid eye contact.
But so you kind of reached a point where at that point, like after a judo black belt, and you train with those guys at San Jose State, like, and you come into a jiu-jitsu room, you're like, there's just, you know, it's a little more relaxed vibe. Yeah,
I mean, one of the earliest people that I trained with a lot was Kevin Kopecky.
Oh yeah,
and he's just a genius.
He's amazing.
And maybe it's also to the credit of jiu-jitsu players like him, or in general. I think that they are not trying to hurt your body, right? They're trying to win the chess game. So in that sense, it just, I'm not freaked out, you know, to go with an individual person. There was only one or two people that I could ever. There was one person I was freaked out about. I forgot his name. He was a CrossFit player, and he was just getting into Jiu Jitsu when I was about a blue belt.
So he was like a phenom as far as like physically.
Yeah. And he was a white belt at that time.
Yeah.
And he did not at that time have a sense of like composure in Jiu Jitsu and Judo in terms of speed, like how hard to go.
Yeah.
Right. Everything was 100%.
Yeah.
And that also, your question earlier about what translated and what didn't translate.
Yeah.
What didn't translate was, and it's a little weird to say it, but in the powerfulness of judo gripping and the intensity of a judo randori, I have to dial that down in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You can't go that hard the whole time because we're meeting so much resistance in jiu-jitsu. If you're putting everything into like squeezing and holding at the kind of level of squeezing and holding that you're doing in judo, you get gassed so quickly. And so very early on, I remember some coaches and some friends, telling me, you gotta like calm down. You gotta relax. You're holding everything like for dear life.
Yeah.
And I did notice like a lot of elbow and pain and stuff, like white belt and blue belt, that went away over time. Like now I almost never feel pain in my hands or anything. And I think it's because half the time if somebody wants to take the grip back really badly, I'll just let them.
Yeah, take it.
And the rest of the time, I am moving other parts of my body in order to accomplish what I want. Do I want to get behind somebody? I don't have to pull them and then pull them in front of me so I can get behind. I'm maneuvering behind them with my whole body. And so I don't have to be so powerful with the arms, hands.
And it's a great point. I had a student on Tuesday ask me the same question, a similar question to this topic, like, how do I continue training when I'm gassed out, right? But this student, which I hope I'll make sure he watches this, because when he trains, everything is this, like flexing his entire body, and he's really good shape, and just the whole time. And it's like, if you're doing that the whole time, you're of course gonna get tired. Like then you just gotta practice on relaxing, right? And that takes experience, right? Because even people, I think we're so arm and finger dominant that we do everything like I'm gonna grab and hold. And in judo especially, because you're grabbing with your arms, not with your legs, right? Jiu-jitsu, we learn how to grab with our legs, and like you said, to get behind somebody, I can use my foot, I can use my knee, I can use my hip, use my shoulder, use my head, they can use the whole body. Okay, my arms are strapped, but I can still bring my hips up and over. So I think it's a great lesson to try to just kind of remind people. It'll take years to figure out, but like, hey, relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
Because you hear it a lot in judo at around the green belt level.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, your arms need to be noodles. You need to relax. But yes and no. Like you go to a competition, you're tense most of the time.
Yeah.
The best judo players will be able to go from tense to loose.
Yes.
Properly.
Yes.
But even amateur black belt judo players, I think, are very tense, and it's why do we want to be like noodle arms and not tense? Well, it's because it doesn't telegraph our body motion, right? And then same thing in jiu-jitsu, but then you get in a real competitive match or roll, everything tenses up again and gets real tight. So it depends, I guess, if you're doing a flow randori with somebody, you're going to be moving around a lot more loose. But
even in my opinion, in jiu-jitsu, if you're tense from the top, oftentimes you lose your balance, because in order, let's say you're surfing, and all of a sudden you lose your balance, or you have to correct your balance. If you're tight, you're not going to be able to. But if you're loose, you're going to be able to make a quick correction, or slack lining, or in judo, if you're like stiff and then all of a sudden like you have to correct your balance by putting your foot out, you're not going to make that move. So that's like that noodle body, right? Like being able, but to mention what we said earlier, like you need to also be able to hunker down when necessary. Hunker, relax, hunker. Yes. And that's kind of, I call it like a pressure valve. Like you need to know how to like when to turn the pressure on and when to release.
Yeah.
And then that's a skill like in itself, especially from the top. I feel where you need to have a good balance, but then there's a time where you need to, and then balance and like so. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Toriando passing, right? It's
Yeah.
like pushing in, letting go, moving to the side.
Perfect
right?
example.
Like,
In and out, left, right.
in and out. But you can't give them all the space in the world. You know, you got to push a little bit. You gotta put some pressure on. Yeah, pressure on and off.
That's why I like that. When COVID happened, like you mentioned, you had your injury. You came back afterwards. What color belt were you at that point? You came to us and to train with us. You were purple, but you were a seasoned purple.
I've been a purple belt for a while. Yeah, I think I was a blue belt during the beginning of COVID, and then towards like a couple years afterwards, I got my purple belt. I didn't train very much during COVID, obviously, because of COVID, but I did. I had a little cohort of San Jose State students that would come to my garage, and they were all judo players, but we had only puzzle mats on concrete in the garage. So I told them, you know, hey, we're going to focus on newaza for your judo, and so we just did a lot of ground techniques and everything, and so that's kind of how I stayed a little bit active during COVID and helped out those guys with their judo. But then purple belt, I think probably about 2020, I think.
Oh, wow.
No, 2021 maybe, 2022. Yeah. Yep.
You did judo really young, 5 years, right? So it's been quite some time, and then you saw like martial arts change a lot from that point until now to what we're doing. And like even myself, I started Jiu Jitsu in 2003, right? So it's been, I don't know, 22 years. And I see, wow, so things always change.
Yeah.
And, judo, being from Japan and how their culture is, and then coming here to America, and then that transition with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a totally opposite culture of Japan. I feel like they're exact opposites, like polar opposites. The Brazilian, in general, right? I'm making generalizations, but Japanese culture, Brazilian culture. And then they took judo and made it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And now we brought it to America, which is a whole other culture. We're like in the middle with those two cultures, I feel. And damn, man, things have been evolving so much. And you have that traditional Japanese background, very stringent, hierarchical. You know, you got to bow 20 times to certain people before you even like do a randori, and then opposed to maybe a more like relaxed American vibe where you just walking in the mat and just calling out your instructor to roll. Hey, let's roll. You know, I mean, I don't know, like, what are big things that you've noticed over the years as far as like respect or styles of training within judo, jiu-jitsu, MMA, or?
Yeah, I think that there's a perception that judo has all these elements of respect, much more than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA, current Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And that may be the case, that it's true, but, you know, I find the overemphasis of respect to individual people in these lineages, I personally don't appreciate that. And I think that is one kind of corrupting factor of the lack of respect in these sports.
Can you repeat that?
Like
about what does it do with the lineage? I'm sorry. Like putting someone's photo on the wall and like bowing to them?
Yeah,
I see.
Bowing to photos on the wall.
Yeah.
Because then I think that it's too easy for people's bad actions to be explained away by their location in the history of the sport. And then they also kind of get deified when maybe they were just human people too,
right.
You know, that had their own flaws. An example that I just learned about recently is the judo player Shohei Ono, who is like maybe the greatest living judo player right now in terms of pound for pound or whatever. But he had like some really big scandals about 4 or 5 years ago in terms of him bullying younger players on the team.
Right.
And their groups settings, like their schools there, it's rough. You know, they're rough on each other.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuff I think can get overlooked when you just kind of, you know. Also, I think there's a little bit of, you know, nobody's perfect, but there's some shady stuff at the origins of Jiu Jitsu in America, and that kind of a lot of it gets overlooked because of the names associated. And then further, you know, as I think that respect culture changed from Japan to Brazil and now to America, America is introducing a whole new round of problems to these sports that may or may not have happened on their own in these other locations. But for example, steroids and social media, I think are really huge problems for the sport because MMA has sort of, I think, infected jiu-jitsu with this trash-talking kind of mentality to get attention.
Right.
Any attention is good attention.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, you know, whether it's just being a poor person or, you know, being the way you speak, the way you talk about other people, or the type of things you talk about that get into the sport. It makes it really hard for me to be proud of the sport in a sense. Definitely because I'm always thinking about my kids. And, you know, from a very young age, it's sad, but, you know, my Icarus would say, "Daddy, can you beat Golden Ryan?" Right? Like he'd be like watching like highlights with me, and he'd see Golden Ryan.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
It was cute. And I'm like, you know, that's just what he would say because I realized he was recognizing this person as a champion of the sport, but I just don't want him to be associated with that, you know. Right. Not a good role model, I guess is what I'm getting at. And so I think that we need to try to change course on, obviously not us here, it's a completely different vibe, you know, the way we treat each other, respectful and team. But I think that as players, when we're looking up at those types of people, we got to keep in mind their character as well as their accomplishments on the mat.
Right. That's a good point. Like I was actually talking about this with Keiko, I think yesterday, about like Craig Jones. Like he's, in my opinion, like it's almost very conflicting. It's like, okay, he's an amazing jiu-jitsu player, one of the best in the world, innovative, and at right now he's doing so much for the sport in a lot of ways, where he's helping athletes make more money. He's created the CGI. He's taken jiu-jitsu like internationally, maybe breaking barriers into jiu-jitsu in different countries. You know, helping out a lot with the Guardian Project, with underprivileged children in Brazil, South America, Africa. You know what I mean? He's doing all these great things. And at the same time, he's all over the internet trolling everybody, you know, glorifying his party scene, you know, which is like, okay, he's not a great role model, but he is, or what is a great role model nowadays? Like, is he just, you know, hey, I'm not, he's like, maybe some people they're a great role model on paper and in the front of the cameras, but then behind the cameras, they're bullying their teammates, or they're using PEDs or other kinds of recreational drugs, which we wouldn't. But he's like, hey man, this is me, and this is what I do.
Yeah.
So is that a good role model? I don't know. It's very conflicting.
It is.
So I think we made a good point when it comes to social media. that adds a whole, because when I started jiu-jitsu, there was no social media, right? There wasn't, there was no instruction. There was like highlight VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Right? You want to watch something cool, there's a highlight, maybe an instructional VHS that is like any techniques were like, they're passed down. And then eventually there became, DVDs, I got it. And the purists, like, you don't learn from DVDs. And now people are scrolling Instagram and YouTube, and you can get everything on the internet, social media. So I think that's a huge thing right now.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't know so much about their character flaws without social media.
Right.
And so to say that there probably was not a golden time where we had really, it's like never meet your heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there probably never really was super great role models in any of these sports, but there's something about to judo's credit, there's something about the norms of behavior on the mat that still seem to reinforce the respect aspect that I appreciate. Mm-hmm. Like some people don't like this idea, but the concept of celebrating after you win in judo is very different than what we see now, like at ADCC or if you celebrate too wildly in judo, you disqualified. It's like a maki.
Right.
But people, I don't even think hardly ever test that rule because it's just so ingrained in the sport that stand up, be respectful, shake hands, bow, go off the mat, and then jump a little bit.
And even then they're kind of like holding back, and you see it like it's kind of like I love watching the Olympics, judo, and you just won the Olympics, and you can see they're holding it back so good, and then they get off the mat, and then they jump off, and they jump in their coach's arms. But there's like, hey, there's a way to act in certain settings, and on the mat or in a dojo is, especially if you go, in my opinion, especially if you go to somebody else's gym, like you should be like on the most highly respectful etiquette behavior as possible. That way you can show respect, and until like some of those barriers are kind of torn down, then you can kind of take your shoes off a little bit, I guess. Yeah. Huge conversation about what types of etiquette are valuable and what are performative. Why do we do certain things that we do? Yeah, that's a great. Why do we feel topic. Like something that I've always been a little bit on the fence with in terms of martial arts is the belt system being a hierarchy of sort of, it shouldn't be this way, but sometimes I think it is, allowing a disrespect from upper belts to lower belts. Yeah. And like a hazing system. Yes, like a hazing system. Yeah. And that's always made me uncomfortable. To the point where even like small things just like trigger that for me a little bit. Like you're rolling and you get near a black belt or brown belt, you need to stop rolling and move farther away. I get it. Somebody's got to move. Somebody's got to move. But even that, it's just sort of like tingles, it's like I try to move myself sometimes to just kind of like keep the space. I agree. When I grew up in jiu-jitsu with my professor, it was very like that. Yeah. Like the higher belts, like, get in the backseat of the car, white belt, you know what I mean? Or get out of the way, white belt, I'm training, you know what I mean? Like that was the way it is. And then when I started going later and training at different gyms, and they were the opposite, and I was like upset, like I'm training, I remember a specific time, I was at a different gym, I was a coach there, and I was training there, and I was training with somebody, I don't remember who, but there was this blue belt really close to me, they're training right there, right? And any one big movement, you're gonna run into us. And then he tells me, hey, watch out, move out of the way. And I was like, whoa, like that was, what? And I talked to some of the other people there, some of the other instructors, is like, what's up with the culture here? Like, what's going on? Like, is that, and he's like I understand, that's kind of like old school culture, like, and I kind of follow that too, but like just then they're like, oh, whoever's closest to a submission, they should get the priority, right? So like, if I'm on top mount and you're over there in your white belt, you're doing a triangle, my eyes should say, okay, let's move. right? Because they're in the middle of a battle, but we're chilling, right? So I don't know who moves. I think it's just I think it's a good way to show respect to the higher belts, and it's also a good way to stay safe.
Yeah.
So like I said, somebody's got to move. But at the same time, like when I'm training and I see something, I'll move. I don't enforce that so hard. But like if I'm training, I'm in the middle of it and I'm right next to you, I'll tap you.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, like. But
I poke people in the feet sometimes.
Yeah, like tickle them.
Just so they know that I'm there.
I'm here, and like, you know, if they come, I had to tell someone, please move, you know, because me and someone were having a good battle, and they were chilling. But yeah, so like there's a lot of little things like that engraved in some of this kind of old school mentality that is very like military, and it does have that kind of disrespect, kind of top down or.
Yeah. And I think that I got away from that by leaving baseball and got to like rock climbing, where there's none of that. But then coming back to judo and jiu-jitsu, feeling that hierarchy is kind of a reminder of the team sport setting in sort of a negative way. But I think that it is sort of nice to have the hierarchical belt structure, because I think it makes people not inspired, but it gives people something to shoot at that they can, and it's like a benchmark, and it's like a measurement, and they can see the difference. And that's, I think, something else that I think we wanted to talk about was kind of the change in martial arts, not just from like respect and norms, but the difficulty. And what is a black belt, right? And how do you get it? And is it just a matter of time, or do you have to be it? Like, do you have to be able to perform? And I like judo because I think that for the most part, there's some exceptions that I've met, but for the most part, judo black belt means you perform. You know, like you can do it, like for real. And I think that's mostly true for jiu-jitsu still. But if we look at like some other martial arts that in the last 30, 40 years, like karate, taekwondo, I don't want to knock it too hard, but they're kind of like tarnishing the reputation of martial art generally. I think MMA has done a lot for us to bring back the legitimacy of certain athletes' styles, because you see, oh well, that really works.
That guy's karate is legit.
It's fire.
Yeah,
and judo and jiu-jitsu really are effective in these settings.
Everybody in MMA does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
everybody. So, you know, that's how important it is to know how to fight from your back or have a submission game. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, and it does kind of water it down, like with like karate. Like, you know, when I was in like middle school, I had a friend, and he was I think elementary school, he was a black belt in taekwondo. I was terrified of him. Terrified. He had like swords on his wall, sais, all these different katas and stuff, right? But you know, but you're a black belt and you're like 8. But then I had a buddy that when I was doing Muay Thai with him, he was a karate black belt. And he whooped the crap out of me because he was in and out, pop, pop, pop. And then did that kind of like linear motion of, when he practiced karate, it was very sparring oriented, right? So I agree. And then it makes you think like, okay, well, what is a black belt? Now there's not necessarily a standard of what that is, right? It all depends on your gym or the culture, but also there's other martial arts that don't have belt ranking system, like wrestling or taekwondo or kickboxing, boxing. Yeah. There's no ranking system there. So then, I wonder how they develop their pecking order.
Maybe they don't have one. Well, they probably do.
I think it's more like a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say, okay, you're a blue belt, and I'm a black belt, and you're like, forget about your black belt. Come get some. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like if you're beating me up as a blue belt, what does that mean about my black belt?
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Or like what? So I think that's another way too. Is like, okay, like I don't care about your color belt. Like I'm gonna, can beat you up on a consistent basis, then what does that mean about your black belt?
And then you have to factor in age and fitness level and things like that. There's going to be some black belts that are now older, and they're going to come across a blue belt who wrestled for a long time, and they're 22 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're maybe they have an extra 30 pounds on the guy.
Yeah, there's all these different factors. So then is being a black belt completely performance based? Because if somebody, I was telling one of my students the other day, like, hey, I'm starting to realize that I'm getting older. I just turned 40. I know I'm not terribly old, but 20 people that are 18 and 20 are going to walk through that door every year. No matter what, I'm going to have an 18-year-old coming in here who's crazy good shape wrestler, or a 20-something-year-old, blue belt that just moved here from Nebraska, right? And that's not going to change.
Yeah.
But I'm going to change as a jiu-jitsu player, and I'm going to evolve. I'm going to get older. I'm going to have to change my jiu-jitsu. So what is, does my black belt, is it purely performance-based now?
Maybe it's performance-based in time, like when you get your black belt. And that's...
But what if you get your black belt at 70?
I guess it would be performance-based in your division, I guess, right?
But what if they're not a competitor? Like, do you have to compete to get a black belt?
I think so. Maybe not a lot, but I think so. Yeah.
You should at least compete once.
Definitely. once or twice per belt, I think is a good metric for...
One should compete at least once per belt, yeah. But Professor Noah, I don't think he's ever competed ever. Maybe once.
Yeah.
And is he not a black belt? Like, I just rolled with him the other day. Like, he's tapping me out with some crazy stuff. Like, what the heck? His tricep slicer, his Americana, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like just a little side note, that in the last few times I've rolled with him, I really feel like he's settling into his black belt really well. So, but yeah, I don't know how that question could be answered. Like, what is a black belt?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be relative. But,
yeah, very relative.
I think that there definitely are things that there are metrics that we cannot follow to make sure we get good black belts, which is like, it's not just about a certain number of classes. Right? It's not purely attendance based or time based.
Or testing.
Or testing.
It depends on the test, but like...
I like tests. I like the concept of testing.
Yeah.
But it's a amalgamation of like a lot of different aspects. And you want to have faith that either your professor or your sensei knows what that bar is for you, for the individual person.
Right.
And so
I've given I haven't promoted too many black belts, but I've given a black belt test to every person that's got the black belt from me so far, and it's been different for every person.
Yeah. Do you know Roy Dean?
Yeah.
I love watching the tests they do.
Yeah. His are very, very sparring based though, right?
Yeah.
And like, you got to apply these techniques in real time, which is really cool.
Yeah, I respect that.
And he puts it all on YouTube. It's great.
Yeah.
Good job, Roy Dean. You're killing it.
Good. It's good production as well.
It's amazing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they do a really good job. I should tell my creative director to start studying more of his stuff. Yeah, that's a great question. I think, there's something to, like, maybe early in the stage, in my opinion, especially with kids or even with adults, like, there is something to attendance as far as like teaching or stressing the importance of consistency. But I think after you get a certain level, like past blue belt, purple belt, or past like yellow belt in kids, like, okay, now it's not just about that. It's a lot about like the skill and, the knowledge, the performance. And I also think it depends. It's especially at black belt level, it's totally based upon the person. I think, like, going back to like the 70-year-old example, it's not what is a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, it's what is a black belt in Jiu Jitsu for you. right? So like your black belt compared to my black belt, compared to Noah's black belt, compared to the 70-year-old's black belt, it's all different black belts. Maybe there's some core values that must be like, hey, you have to have a technical knowledge. You have to have a mastery in jiu-jitsu in some sense.
Yeah.
And you should be able to represent jiu-jitsu in a certain way and teach it. Like as a black belt, you're a teacher, whether you like it or not. People are even if you never teach a class, people are watching you to learn.
Yeah.
Or when they train with you, they're expecting. They're like, hey, I'm getting a lesson right now in osmosis, through osmosis, right? So I think that is huge for me. Is like, okay, you can teach, you have a mastery, and then what does how is this black belt tailored to you in a sense that like you as a white belt, as a blue belt, as a purple belt, as a brown belt, as a black belt, like how have you evolved in your jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I've definitely evolved a lot. She used to be just like powerful, stay in one spot, on my knees, like judo player. But now
you have a guard game.
Yeah, I like playing guard more than passing. Yeah.
Totally. I think, and then even myself as a black belt, I've evolved so much, and I think that's what's the great thing I tell people all the time. It's like, man, I'm learning all the time. And when I look at myself as an early black belt, I'm like, wow, like, I don't even know who that guy is anymore. Like, he was a black belt? Okay, I guess so. But, once you get I tell people, when you get your black belt, you don't have any other belts after that. There's no other belt to look forward to. Then people say, yeah, but you get the coral belt. Okay, like you're gonna wait. You're looking forward to 35 years down the road or whatever. Like, no, like there's no more belts.
Yeah.
As you're a purple belt, like, okay, I can taste that brown belt coming up really soon. And you're a brown belt, like, oh, that black belt's right around the corner. And you get hit with that black belt, and you're like, oh, now what do I look forward to?
Yeah. I feel that already, and that's kind of like I don't want to get my black belt anytime soon. I feel like I have so many holes in my games or games that I don't try yet, and I don't seem to have enough time or energy to get to those things. I want to get a deep half guard game, which I don't have.
I could show you some, but you never let me get there.
I like playing against deep half guard.
Yeah.
But I think of a Bernardo Faria style of deep half guard attacking that, I tried a long time ago, like purple belt, blue belt, but I never got good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it never ends. That's what's so cool about jiu-jitsu. It's like, oh, I want to get good at this, and then like, I'm like, oh, this, and it never. Then there's some people I know that are black belts that are like, I just do this, and I focus on this, and I want to perfect this, and that's like one way of doing it. But like, if you're a musician, how fun is it to play the same song over and over and over and over and over?
Yeah. Was it Bruce Lee? He said, fear the guy who trained one move 1,000 times or something like that.
Yeah. Don't fear the person who has
1,000 moves. Or
fear the person that practiced one move 1,000 times or whatever. But like, how boring is that?
It's kind of boring.
I like to have fun when I do my jiu-jitsu, so I like to, hey, I want to experiment. I want to do different types of guards. Oh, I saw this thing that student's doing, I feel then that helps me as a teacher too if I have put myself in different positions. But
yeah.
Anyways, man, what a great conversation. If people want to train with you, or if they want to get more in touch with you and they want to learn more they want to go rock climbing, or they want to do some judo, how can they get in touch?
Well, got Instagram, I guess. Just hit me up at the gym. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You teach here at Daruma Dojo on Thursdays?
Yep, Thursday 11, no-gi class.
Friday night?
Friday night, kids, and the BJJ 101 Friday nights. And then Saturday morning, kids class. And I'm usually here Sunday evenings at the marathon, or at the open mat, and then also Friday at the marathon rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to have
can also do privates if, here and there.
Yeah, I know you're doing some privates with some of the students here, and they're getting a lot of value, so.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Alex. His judo is getting amazing. Yeah. Quick learner.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much. It's been an awesome conversation.
It was fun.
All right, cool.